Nancy Pelosi squeaking out a new term as Speaker of the House. She won in a tight race after 5 Democrats voted against her. Pelosi also being slammed after allowing House members who had tested positive for COVID to come into the chamber to vote in the speakership race. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy going after Pelosi and her party's agenda.
The only thing in the Democratic Party that grew was the squad. You know, not one Republican lost in the last election. And what their whole mantra, the last Congress was the least productive Congress in 50 years. Did they change the course to make it more open, for more voices to be heard? So you have more input? They re-elected a speaker who went the entire summer, who said it's better to do nothing on COVID than to do something, and they want to accuse the Republicans they're not acting?
Brett, so it turned out there was no huge drama yesterday. You know, it's always premature reports. Pelosi's going to lose, and she's back again. What do you make of it?
She does manage to herd the cats when she needs the votes. However, there was drama, Juan. I mean, she only won by 1 vote. She had 5 Democrats vote for other people. There was nobody else running against her. Kevin McCarthy, who was the House Minority Leader, didn't lose a single vote. He got all of the votes. And what we saw was basically what McCarthy talked about there, was that the Republican caucus is stronger after the election. They didn't lose a single incumbent. They have more seats now. They are just 4 votes away from altering legislation on the floor. So Nancy Pelosi's got to tiptoe through the tulips when it comes to legislation, dealing with the left and the center of her party.
Greg, what does it say that the Democrats don't seem to be in such disarray if every member of the squad voted for Nancy Pelosi?
It's a good point. I mean, I think Americans have witnessed the ultimate depravity in politics. Here's a person who freely admits she denied aid to millions of suffering people for political gain. The outcome was more suffering for 2 months and a deal that was cut in half, and yet she still won. I mean, that's pretty amazing that they still voted for her. I remember, was it Trump who said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it? Well, we just learned that Pelosi can let millions suffer to preserve her power and get away with it. I think this is this is another loss of political innocence for people. It makes you want to just remove yourself from the entire process and actually decide, this isn't my government. This is not my, I think for 4 years after hearing not my president, I think it rubbed off on me, because when I look at this, I think to myself, this is not my government. But I have come up with a new product, Juan. I call it the Pelosi Shield. It's a glass partition that allows you to do what other people can't do, but it only works if you're Nancy Pelosi. And if you buy 2 shields, you get a free pint of gelato.
Ice cream, Greg. We like ice cream. I think that's what her favorite is. Dana, you know, we talk about parties in civil war, parties in disarray, but it seems to me the party that can't decide who won the election at the moment is the GOP.
Well, I think Kevin McCarthy has a lot to be proud of. Like as he said, not a single Republican incumbent lost. And if you look at the freshman class, it is a new generation of Republicans that have come to the Congress. They're younger, they're much more diverse, they won hard-fought races, and I think that because of the slim margin and the way that midterm elections usually go for a president, that you are looking at Kevin McCarthy possibly being the next speaker. What I thought was quite egregious is to see how many Democrats that had been exposed to COVID and had not tested negative returned to the chamber in order to vote for her because, as Brett pointed out, it was that close. So it's, again, it's this hypocrisy that it's okay for them to do it. You can't visit your family at Christmas. You can't go to the party. You can't even go to work. Can't open your restaurant. Can't have people sit inside. But these Democrats, they can get there in order to vote for Nancy Pelosi. Without that hypocrisy, she wouldn't be speaker today.
Yep, it's true.
That's a good point. So, Jesse, you got Pelosi in the House going forward. You got Biden in the White House. I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, which is the party with extremists in it? Because Pelosi and Biden, you know, pretty centric politicians.
Nice try, Juan. As the resident historian of the five, besides being the first female House Speaker, which is a great accomplishment, I think history will only remember Nancy Pelosi for passing Obamacare and the partisan impeachment hoax. And I'm not going to entertain any other suggestions because I think I nailed that pretty beautifully. Dana Perino, speaking of nailing it beautifully, has already gone through the long list of Nancy's failed leadership. I mean, we failed impeachment, failed shutdown, failed COVID relief. And what the Swalwell scandal, the ice cream scandal, the Chinatown scandal. And now she's hanging on by razor-thin margins in the House with a mid-30% approval rating. She's on her last legs. I mean, in 2 years, she's going to get the gavel knocked out of her hand by the red wave, and she can go off into retirement and do the exact same thing she's doing right now, which is absolutely nothing.
Don't forget the hair salon.
Oh, boy.
And,
okay.
Juan,
Yes,
Juan,
the hair salon.
To say that
Thank you,
she's a
Brett.
centrist is really quite something.
I think she's, oh my gosh, compared to the president, I think she's pretty centrist. I mean, clearly the squad thinks of her in that way.